Okay, folks, if you've been watching some of my earlier videos, you know that one of the complaints that I've had about Comicsgate, and I'm going to include Ripiverse in Comicsgate even though I'm not sure whether or not it strictly belongs, is that Comicsgate has a problem with providing lettered previews of their projects. I mean, John Malin, for one, does the series Graveyard Shift. He's had about 5 or 6 books out at this point, and yet I can't find a lettered preview of any of them, even the previous books that he's put out. Another one, Aaron Lopresti, his Wraith of God series is on its second book, but I can't find even a lettered preview of the first book. You might not think that this is important, and granted, all these comic book creators have generally had enough success that they're probably thinking, well, I don't have to put my writing out there in order to draw in the money that I need. And that's fine. I mean, if you don't want to go that extra mile to try and get those extra readers, that's fine. But I just want you to be aware how little is actually necessary to draw in readers. And of course, the biggest story of the year has been ISOM #1, the product of Ripiverse and Eric July. And there's no lettered preview of ISOM #1, yet it's still raked in $3.7 million, largely, I'm assuming largely from his prodigious YouTube base, which I think he wound up getting a sales conversion rate of about 7%, which is pretty amazing in the sales industry. So he didn't really need to put a lettered preview out to rake in a whole ton of money. But my position was, you might have gotten up to $4 million if you'd actually provided a lettered preview. Now, could he really have converted that much? I think the math kind of supports that, assuming that the people who bought in at the same rate with the same average. I mean, people were buying at a rate of like $87 per purchase, as opposed to just the minimum $35 per purchase on the comic book itself. But I just want to show how little it took to really pique my own interest. Now, I've never seen ISOM #1, any of the interior pages, except for a 2-panel spread that somebody who was, I think he was criticizing the book, put on Twitter. 2 panels in which there's a fight going on between ISOM and another guy who is a bigger, stronger, bruising type guy. I don't know his name. I think the name of the character is on the ISOM #1 campaign website, but I can't remember it right now. But it's a fight between these 2 characters, and right now they're squaring off, sizing each other up, and the big bruiser, who's going to attack ISOM in just a second, says this. He says, "If you're special, they call you an accept. You and I know that's a generalization. We differ in many ways, different paths to being what we are, a scale. And this is why I'm not that fond of the term accept." And then ISOM replies, "Well, it's just a term that people use to identify it. It caught on, and here we are. It has nothing to do with this fight." And then the bruiser says, "And that's why it's a problem. It attempts to place people like us on the same plane. We are not equals." That's all I know of Eric July's writing. That is the sum total, 100% of everything that I have seen of Eric July's writing, and it came after the campaign ended. And I'm telling you right now, if I had seen these 2 panels in a lettered preview, I would have plunked down the $50 it would have taken to got the book. Seriously. Because when I look at that and I see, #1, you got the big bruising guy actually philosophizing about terms and labels and what they mean and what they imply. Now, anybody going back to Fantastic Four and Jack Kirby and Stan Lee and The Thing in the 1960s, you don't expect the bruising guy to be the one who's doing the heavy philosophizing. So that right there is kind of against trope. And then for them to have this conversation in the middle of a fight, I don't even know what the fight is about, but at the same time, it's a philosophical discussion. It's a philosophical argument that this guy is trying to make, that the big guy is trying to make, about how this term that is a generalized term for them all implies an equality that's not there of their powers. I kind of want to know what are the philosophical differences between these two explored at a deeper level than that. And I don't know that I'm going to get that, but I know I'm not going to get it if I don't have the book in hand. So what I'm telling you is that if I had seen these two panels, and only these two panels, during the campaign, and known that this was the kind of writing that I could expect from ISOM #1, I would have taken a chance on it. I mean, part of it would have been, the hype surrounding the whole kit and caboodle. I mean, yeah, it's a very, very hyped book. It's one of those you really want to get in the ground floor on this. Won't you come aboard and be along for the ride? And and of course, there's always the punch-up value of the book. Saying here's a way you can stick it to the big two and show the big two that we don't need them and that kind of stuff. All of that's fine, so long as you give me a good product. And at this point, my interest is piqued enough in the book that I may go ahead and get the book. Now, I think there's alternate ways of getting the book that might be a little cheaper than going just straight through the direct store and paying the $50, which is the $35 plus shipping and tax. I may hold out a little bit on that. I may even hold out a little bit until ISOM #2, which I know is coming and will be out in the next few months, so that I just have to pay one time for the package. We'll see how that goes. I'll be interested to see if maybe there's a discount deal where if you get ISOM 1 and 2 together, then at least you combine on shipping or something like that. And every little bit helps when you're dealing with crowdfunded comics, because, my God, these things are so expensive that you just wind up begging for a discount of any kind. So it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to put a little bit of your writing out there to say, this is what you can expect if you buy this book. And maybe somebody's going to say, that's not for me. And maybe somebody's going to say, oh, yeah, that actually looks pretty good. I think the risk versus reward, considering there are some people like myself who are just simply not going to buy a book with the writing sight unseen. The idea that you're going to turn off more people with your writing than you're turning on, well, I mean, if you really think that, then you don't have much confidence in your product. I mean, you kind of want to put your writing out there, because once you sell the book, I mean, that writing is going to be out there in people's hands anyway, and they're going to be able to comment on it to their heart's extent. So I feel like every Comicsgater out there needs to do one of two things. If you have a current campaign going now, put out a page or two of your comic with lettered preview. And it doesn't have to be final. It doesn't even have to be final. Ethan Van Sciver, when he released his 17-page preview of Cyberfrog Blood Honey, he basically said, this is a draft. This is not necessarily the finished product. And it was not. I went through and did a preview review on that, and showed some of the differences between the draft that I was able to review and then the finished product in the book. And that's fine. All people really need to get is a taste of what it is that they should expect from your book. Because if all they're seeing is the artwork, well, I can tell you that there's a lot of great looking artwork out there that's ruined by bad story and bad writing. People out there want to see some of your writing. They want to see that they're at least getting a base minimum of talent. And most of the time when I've gone out and seen these lettered previews, they have stood the test. I mean, I've done some previews now on Dame Gang. Of course, I did Blood Honey, and then Fiendish, and all of these, I looked at that and I say, yeah, this, as far as the writing goes, this is perfectly acceptable. Now, did any of those turn out to be my cup of tea? Well, I only plunked down for Blood Honey so far. But at the same time, I didn't see anything in the writing for either Dame Gang or Fiendish where I would tell somebody, oh no, you should pass this stuff by. No, not at all. I mean, there were some really good elements to those, and I think that if you were to go and take and sample what it is they have to offer, then you might want to get yourself in on those particular crowdfunded comics as well. So don't shy away from and I'm speaking to comic book creators at this point, don't shy away from putting your writing out there as well as your art. Now, I know that lettering is usually something that comes late in the process, but like I said, just take a couple of your pages and have a draft done, and put the draft out there, and let that draft speak for itself. And then whatever you need to change later, you can change. Nobody's going to condemn you for that, trust me. So that's what I basically wanted to say is if you're confident enough in your talent that you're willing to put your writing out there and sell it for, $35 a pop, $50 once you include tax and shipping, be confident enough that you're going to put your writing out on display for prospective buyers, because I really think that there's an untapped potential out there that you're passing by not putting out your product to the fullest extent that you can, or to the fullest limited extent. I'm not expecting you to put the full PDF online for somebody to read, and then why would they buy the book? But a couple of pages, a couple of panels did it in this case. And so if you've got, and even if you don't want to put something out from the current comic, you still, if you're not a beginner, you may have like a couple of early issues. Wraith of God #1, Cyberfrog Blood Honey's out there, Fiendish #1 is out there, Dame Gang's #1's out there. All of these are #1s with the #2s coming out or having come out already. So you can use your prior product to sell your current product. There's nothing wrong with doing that. If you don't have the lettered preview of your own current campaign, use one of your past ones. Show people what you're capable of there, and then that will hook even more people in. Because I'm telling you something, not everybody cares so much about art. It's not always about art. Sometimes it's about writing. The writing's got to forward the story just as much as the art. The two have to work together. And if they don't, you can wind up with a catastrophe. But if they do, or even if the writing works and the art is just kind of you could still sell another book. You could still sell another copy just for that person who's thinking, I'm not sure exactly what I see in this, but it's enough to make me want to see more. And that's when you've got the person. That's what it takes to get me. So we'll see. Like I said, I know ISOM #2 is coming out in a few more months, and I may just go ahead and try and go for a dual pack on that. That's fine. I'm not like in a hurry or anything. But yeah, I mean, I would have gotten in on the ground floor if I had seen those couple of panels. Sometimes just a little bit is all it takes. I'm Mike Partika. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe if you haven't already, and I will talk to you later.